What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So if you noticed by the title, today is going to be more of like a chit chat with me type thing. I'm not going to be getting ready. I'm literally just going to be talking to you guys because this is something that I have been wanting to do for a while. It's really been on my heart. You know, mainly because I feel like there's so many people that I have reached out to or seen that are on the edge of giving up or give up right before something big happens, and that's normally 99% of the time that's what we do. We give up right before something happens. And so I just wanted to talk to you guys about why you shouldn't give up. So yeah, before I get started, if you don't care, go ahead and click the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications because I have another video coming up that I can't wait to share with you guys. It's something I saw on YouTube about talking to your future self and questions you have for your future self. I actually got the idea from Alyssa Kulani. So I will be doing that. So make sure you have your notifications on and you can see those future videos. But yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so I don't really know the starting point or where I want to begin as far as talking about this, so I'm just going to try to think of an example and then let everything else flow. Okay, so the biggest thing that I see in people as far as giving up is the lack of endurance. It's not that they haven't endured through the time period that they had gotten to, like from the time they started to the point they wanted to give up. It's not that they didn't endure during that, but endurance is to keep going. It is to keep going, to hold on and keep going. So if you ever stop, then you stopped enduring. So yeah, in a sense, you didn't endure because you didn't keep going. But endurance is huge, you guys. It is something that, like Joe Dirt says it, keep on keeping on.
No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy. You hear that in there?
And it's so, like, lighthearted when I say it coming from him, but it's so true. Just keep on keeping on. You know, when you've done all else to stand, stand. Keep standing. When you feel like you are at your wit's end, like that is literally the time that God literally does something huge, because he wants you to get to a point where your faith is exactly what the definition of faith is. It is believing in the unseen. So if you were to work hard towards something and just it automatically happened just like that, like you never had to call out for help, you never had to cry out to God, you never had to be at rock bottom at any point, or you never had to doubt just a little bit, you wouldn't be reaching out to God. You wouldn't be believing in him for something. You would think it was all that you did. So sometimes that's what God does. I'm not saying in all circumstances, but sometimes God will put you through something and he'll see, it'll be more of like a test just to see, you know, will you keep going when it looks like it's almost here? Will you keep going? Or maybe not a test. Maybe it's an opportunity for him to build a relationship with you, because he wants you to get you to a point where you are relying in him and not in your own abilities. So it really is just an opportunity for him to just get closer to you, because he desires so strongly for us to be close to him. So that could be it, you know. But at the point, so if you're watching this for a reason. So I'm just going to relate to you at the point that you're probably at right now. And at this point, you literally feel as if you've done all you can. You literally feel exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally. You literally feel like even if you pushed your shoulders back, you felt like your shoulders are drooping. You feel everything is drawn down. You feel like you have these bricks on your back all the time. And let me tell you, I know that feeling. I know the feeling of feeling like that you have literally done all that you can. I know the feeling of feeling like so exhausted that you just wish you could sleep the rest of the days away until it was over with. I know the feeling of feeling like that no matter what you did, everything that you were working for seemed to work in the opposite direction. And that brings me to my next point. So I want to talk to you guys about that. Believing in something and everything working out opposite of what you thought would go down. So, God makes promises, okay? And his promises are yes and amen. He does not, if he makes you a promise, it will come to pass. You will see that promise come to pass. And if he's made you a promise and you're working towards that promise and everything that is happening to you is literally opposite of what you expected to happen, or that you, it points you away from what your promise is, or whatever the case, you cannot decide that God, maybe you heard it wrong. So that's the biggest thing. People think, oh, well, since it's happening opposite of what I thought would happen or what I thought I heard, maybe that's not what God meant. And let me tell you, I can relate to that more than anything. Is maybe that's not what he meant. Maybe that promise that I heard is not what he actually said. And then I'll start altering things in my mind and be like, wait a minute, no, that's not what he said. Or maybe this is actually what he meant by it. And I'll just start changing his promise in my head so that it'll line up with the things that are happening in my life, so that I will feel like his promise is fulfilled. But listen, he doesn't change the promise. He doesn't alter his promise. If he promised something, it is going to happen no matter what it looks like, no matter what it sounds like. It will come to pass. So if you are doing what he told you to do, if you're working towards that promise that, he has promised you, if you're staying on that path, then that's all you have to do is look straight ahead. Do not be distracted by the detours. Do not be distracted by the signs ahead of you that point opposite of the direction you thought you knew. There's so many different ways to get to one destination on a map, okay? So say you're on GPS. This is good, you guys. Say you're on GPS. And when you first pull it up on your phone, thank God for GPS on your phone, you guys. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do if I was born in the ages where you had to look at maps. I have looked at a map before and oh my God. Anyways, so on the GPS, when you type an address and you click go to look, or like on your maps, you will see that it pops up the quickest way to get to your route. And then it'll show you different routes to get to the exact same destination. But as you'll notice on the maps, it'll say 5 minutes slower or 10 minutes slower or an hour slower. But it shows you that all those roads lead to the exact same destination. There's just one quickest way, and then there are different routes. So that speaks for itself, okay? Sometimes the quickest route is not the best route. So say we were actually just talking about this with my in-laws, I think, the other day. So say the interstate is the quickest route, but we know that the interstate always has traffic, right? Always has traffic. So it's going to be backed up, and it shows that it's the quickest route. So God knows, I'm just going to show you what I mean by this whole thing. God knows your path. Okay, and even though this to you appears to be the quickest route, he knows that there's traffic. He knows that there is nothing for you to learn or do if you just go straight. So he's going to put you on a detour, and you're going to see things that are different, and they're going to look different, and you may actually go out of the way, away from what you are familiar with, and think that you're going opposite of what you're supposed to be going towards, when in reality you're just going a different route, and it's a slower route. And something that someone told me one time years ago is that there's oven things and then there's microwave things. And the things that you put in the microwave and you heat up that are a quick thing never taste as good as the thing that takes longer in the oven, that really has the time to cook. So it becomes an oven thing and it takes a little bit longer. It always tastes better and it looks better and it smells better that way. So good things take time. And so if you were on a, I'm trying not to get on a tangent too much, but if you were on a path right now where it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like, or it looks, or everything's happening opposite of what you originally thought would happen or that you were told would happen in this path, please do not be astray and know that God's promises are yes and amen. And you are going to end up in that exact same destination, the point that He told you, the promise. You are going to see that promise. And just the journey to that promise is not going to always be what you think it's going to look like or what it was supposed to feel like in the journey, because it's the promise. If He is taking you astray from what you're normally used to, He's teaching you something. And something I learned a long time ago as well is that if you ask God for patience, like, God, please give me patience, He's not just going to give you patience. He is going to put you in situations that require you to be patient. Okay? If you ask God, God, please help me to love the way you love, He is not going to just instill that in you. He is going to bring you someone along that needs love and is the hardest to love, because that is the biggest form of God's love, is to love the unlovable. He is just as infatuated with the murderers, the rapists, all those things as He is with us, you guys. So I know that is a concept really hard to grasp because our human love doesn't know that love, but that is the level of love. So if you say, God, teach me to love how you love, that's what He's going to do. He is going to bring someone in your life that is so unlovable. He's going to bring somebody in your life that is so, like, no one gets along with. They're mean, but that is how you learn God's love. That is how you see people in God's eyes. That's how He's going to teach you. So if that sounds familiar to you, if any of this sounds familiar to you for as far as, asking God for something and then you being tested, just know that that's what it is. It's not just a test, but it is how He teaches you to be patient, how He teaches you to love like Him. Like, He's teaching you. He's not just going to instill that, He's going to teach you. And when you learn and you're given situations, you hold on to that and you literally change your mentality, as opposed to Him just like instilling it in you. He's like, oh God, that's the same with His promises. So He makes you a promise, but it's something you have to work towards, something you have to trust Him in, something that you have to pass these tests and go like all these different ways. His promises is still going to come to pass. No matter if you fail Him daily, no matter if He puts these tests right in front of your face, maybe you fall short, and so maybe the promise is extended, but that does not mean it's canceled. He does not cancel promises, okay? So I really, really, really wanted to iterate on that. The next thing I want to touch on is love. You guys, this is something huge for me. Is love is a verb. It is not a feeling, okay? It is an action. Love is, yes, it's something that you feel. It is an emotion, but most of all, it is an action. So even when God says to love the way He loves, He's not saying to feel the way He feels about someone, because obviously you will never know that. You will never know the way God feels about people. So when He says love like me or love like God does, it is an action. It is an action, it is an action, it is an action. So that brings me to this, you guys. There are going to be people that come into your life that are unlovable. Like, it's going to be so true, so strong, but does that mean you don't love them? No. You cannot like somebody, but you still should love them. As far as like a marriage type situation goes, I say this all the time. People have asked me multiple times, okay, what is it? Because in my generation right now, I can name at least 10 people that are divorced at this point. And that is not any judgment. There is no shame. I'm not condemning by any means, because listen, you don't know someone's story. You cannot tell them what happened in their story. They know their story and you don't get to decide. That is something we need to be big on, is you don't get to decide how someone feels or what went down or anything. You don't get to decide that for them. That is not our business. But I'm just saying, as far as the marriage things, goes, I can literally, my generation drops like flies when it comes to marriages and relationships. They just do. I don't know if it's because social media has opened up so many sources for cheating, or that you know, our generation was not taught or did not absorb love the way that they should have, as far as, you know, marriages go. I don't know, you know, I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you that. But what I can tell you is, people ask me often, because it is so common in my generation to just divorce. People ask me often, you know, Brandon and I have not been married a very long time, but for my generation, it's a long time. He and I have been together for 9 years and married for 7. And that's a long time for my generation, which is kind of sad. But it is. It's a long time, and we're still just as in love. Do we always have the butterflies? No. Are there times where I don't have any sort of feeling, and literally loving him is purely an action? Yes. Is there times that he feels the same way? Yeah. But that is what love is. That is what unconditional love is. That is the 1 Corinthians 13:7 type of love. That is, love never gives up. That is, love is patient, it is kind, it is always hopeful. It endures through every circumstance, you guys. That is the biggest part of that Bible verse. It endures through every circumstance. So, Brandon and I have been through hell, for lack of better words. We've literally been through hell in our relationship, in so many different aspects. We have gone through stages that I'm just gonna be honest with you, there are stages that we have gone through that I've literally can think in my mind and be like, I get it now. I get why people give up. I get it. I want to. There have been times where I wanted to give up. There have been times where Brandon wanted to give up, because that is the easier route. In my mind, yeah, it would have been hard to leave, but I knew that it would have been temporary and I'd get over it and it'd be fine. Or I could just stick it out and just, for all I know, have this pain forever. You know what I mean? There are so many instances where giving up would have been so much easier. So much easier. And those are the times where I grew my closest to God, because, and that's what he wants. He wants us to have that relationship. Now, I'm not going to say God's going to put you at a pit in order to build a relationship with you. I'm not going to say that. He's also a gentleman. He is not going to just take over. He wants you to want him in. But that's what I did in my marriage. Whenever, you know, things get, he's always in my marriage. Don't get me wrong. I pray over my husband often. But those are the times where he and I really have intimate moments, is when I don't know what to do and I really just need his guidance. But, okay, so there is instances, like, starting out when Brandon and I first got married, like I said, we're polar opposites, and he is the furthest thing from anything I've ever dated, and I'm the furthest thing from anything he's ever dated. And so learning each other was huge. We didn't live with each other before we got married. And so learning, you know, about each other and about our personalities and how we work and all that stuff was challenging, and that's just to say the least. You know, we didn't have a lot at all. We both made like minimum wage, if not maybe 50 cents above, living in our own apartment, paying our own bills. And so we didn't have a lot, but we were good that first year. We were okay. But then all of a sudden, or the first few months, we had, you know, things were okay. But then I started, and he started realizing, okay, this is somebody I'm spending forever with. And so we started really trying to figure each other out and like point out things that we didn't really appreciate and all those kind of things. And then that's when just like things came out. Like we were just mean. Those were times where I was just like, what have I done? I just now married this guy. Like, because I'm big on making a promise before God. I made a promise, and I just knew I had to keep that commitment. I was like, I told him I made an oath under God that this was my man. And if you guys know my story, I can share that story on a different video. But if you guys know our story, then you know that I know what God said, and that getting to the point of marriage with that man was hell on itself. So now that I was there, now that I had married him, I wasn't about to back out just for that reason alone. But I literally, he and I both went through times where literally we were throwing things at each other. We got really in each other's faces. That is never okay, you guys. Please know that that is never okay. It never is. So I'm not saying, please know that I'm saying that it is never okay. But those were the times where I was like, God, what is it? Because I know what you said. Because Brandon was my promise. I know what you said, and I'm just confused. I'm confused why this is playing out this way, you know. And it would be in those moments that I would pray so hard that I would get some kind of sign that I did the right thing. And then, just off the top of my head, this is just an example I can think of. Literally, Brandon would have been in a moment where he literally just does not care. He's like, you know, whatever. He was just big on that, not showing emotion. And then out of nowhere, one day, just an example of a fight that we had had, I was praying, and then he called me upstairs, and he has never done this. He hasn't ever done this again. But it was very out of his character, so I knew it was that God had a play in it. But he called me upstairs and literally just slow danced with me to one of our wedding songs, and it was just like I just melted. And it was in the middle of a very intense fight, and it was also, that's the very significant part, is I had prayed that God would remind me why I fell in love with him and show me what I was fighting for all that time to marry him. Like, what was it? What in that promise? Show me that so I can still hold on. And he did with that little bitty moment, and it was short-lived. But again, God wants us to learn. He wants us to be patient. He wants us to grow closer to him. And so we went through obstacles, and we kept going through those hard times. We moved. We went we went from an apartment to a house and rented, and that was a really hard time too, but for different reasons. It was just a completely different stage. We had no money. Brennan made like $20 a week during that time. I made barely over minimum wage during that time. I mean, literally to a point where we were splitting a pack of ramen noodles, and then I got pregnant with Charlie in that house, and I was like, oh wow, here we go. I didn't have the money to buy a pregnancy test, and then I was like, oh God, what have I done? Literally though, because I wanted Charlie. Charlie was planned, and it made no sense why I wanted her so bad in the middle of us just financially falling apart. But I did. I had this desire for Charlie so bad, just for a baby. Charlie's what came of that, but I did. I have this crazy desire to have her, and Brandon was on board, which was strange enough because getting him to get married was one commitment, but to have a child, I was just like, how am I going to do this? And now he wants a Brady Bunch, but he was on board with it, so I was like, okay, let's try. And shortly after, thank God I've not struggled with infertility, and I really, 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 my heart goes out to you guys that do. Truly, my heart goes out to you. I have friends, close friends, best friends that struggled with that and still struggle with that. And it's heartbreaking to go through and to watch and to see the feelings that you guys have. God, I could get emotional thinking about it. But fortunately for me, I've not struggled with that. So we got pregnant really quickly. And I didn't even have money to go get a pregnancy test. Just because we didn't have any money. And so I was like, God, I'm scared. I don't know how to find out if I'm pregnant. I don't know what to do. It was the day that I was supposed to start my period. I keep feeling like I'm going to sneeze, but it was the day I was supposed to start my period, but I was so anxious to know. So literally went to a birthday party with what little gas we had left. And at that birthday party, didn't want to go, first of all, because it was across town and we didn't have a lot of gas. I already didn't have enough money to get a pregnancy test, much less fill up my gas tank for work the next day. But So we went to this birthday party. And at the birthday party, I had someone approach me and tell me that I had done pictures. I used to do photography a lot, but I had done pictures for them back in November. This birthday party was in May. She was like, you did pictures for me back in November and I forgot to pay you. It's because I was not expecting payment from her. She told me she wanted to pay me, but when she didn't, I didn't think a thing of it because I told her I didn't want any payment. She said, I forgot to pay you, and she handed me a $50 bill, and I literally just like broke down. I was like, oh my God, is this for real? Literally left the birthday party, went to Walmart and bought a pregnancy test. It was positive, and then came Charlie. We've just been through a lot. We've been through a lot. There, I could go on for hours in a whole separate video of what he and I have been through. But my point is, every single time that I got to the point where I was just like, God, you don't want this for me. Like, Brandon, I obviously, especially coming out of relationships that I've had in the past, I had a lot to work on, like, obviously in myself, and I recognize that. But that's in me, and then in a partner, it's just a different feeling, different ball game. But like Brandon really, and he'll even tell you, like, he had a lot to work on as far as being in a relationship. He was never a commitment type guy anyways, and here he was married, and I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how many times where I was just like, this can't be the promise you gave me. This is not what this looks like. You promised me, Brandon, but I know that you would not put me in this situation. This is not of you, God. It can't be. And it would be in those moments that I'd be crying out and at my weakest that he would give me a little glimpse of something that would help me hold on. And every single time, there's a song, I don't know if you guys know it, but there's a Love is not a fight, but it's something worth, I think it's called Love is not a fight. But in the song it says, and if we try to leave, I pray angels guard the door, because love is not a fight, but it's something worth fighting for. So literally any time where I thought that leaving was an option, I literally sang that. I swear to you guys, I sang that, and still do, because we still struggle, in my head over and over again. And if I try to leave, pray angels guard the door, guard the door, guard the door, guard the door. And let me tell you, it works. God, send angels to guard that door. Don't let me leave. And the desire to leave weakens, and your will to stay in love in verb form is stronger. And it's in those moments that love is an action. It is not a feeling. There are so many times that I know that Brandon feels the same way, but there's so many times that have come about in our marriage where literally we had to love each other as an action because I didn't feel it. There were times where I literally was like, I can't keep going. And those times really, really stir up. This comes up. This is the next thing that I want to bring up, is the times in having babies. So I know that some of you are, that is literally one of the biggest times I see couples fall apart and break up or divorce or whatever, is within a year or two after having a child. And listen when I tell you that I get it. I get it. I get why you would give up. I get it. But let me tell you why you shouldn't. Because there are going to be times, I'm going to tell you exactly what I went through, and I know that you can relate. I know you can, just because this is what happens. So you have this baby, and you think, oh my God, this baby is going to bring me and my partner, husband, whatever, so close. This baby is going to make us love in a way that we didn't know with each other. And let me tell you, right after you have that baby, that is so true. It is so true. Right after you have that baby, you love your partner in a whole different light. To see them love and comfort and hold something that you two created together, it's a piece of you and a piece of him or her or whoever's watching, to see that together is just empowering. There's something about it that's just like, wow, we did that together. That is something we made out of love. And it's not just something. It's not just a card. It is a whole human that you just made out of love. And so when you think about that and you hold on to that, and then It does. It sparks feelings. Even if you guys split up, even if you guys got pregnant and split up, in that moment, you are going to feel that. But know that it is temporary, and that is okay. Okay? It is a temporary feeling. You feel it, and then you get home. And women, you are not crazy. You are not crazy. Men, your woman is not crazy. When they bring that baby home and they're emotional and they're weak and they're broken, and they're that way for months, maybe even years, they're not crazy. First of all, you just went through, ladies, you just went through something not only that is so miraculous. Like, if you really think about the birth process, it is insane. It's miraculous. Just from conception to giving birth, what our bodies do and go through, and the hormonal changes are insane. Like, those are the times where I'm just like, how do people not believe in God? Like, I'm just like, ugh, just going through that, and then experience it myself, just knowing the process and learning it, but then experiencing it, I'm just like, how? Oh my God, this is insane. Like, how is this scientifically possible without God? You know what I mean? So, it's just facts. It is science that hormones are so imbalanced in women after having a child. Yes, 9 times out of 10 it'll level out, but sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you need help, and that is okay. Okay? I've seen something before that says you can have a therapist and you can have God, and against some people's and preachers' populars' belief, I agree with them that you can have a therapist and you can have God. God put that knowledge in doctors and therapists for a reason. And yes, there's faith. You know, doctors give you certain diagnoses and tell you certain things, and you can pray against it and believe it. And I believe that God is the great physician and He will work it out the way He sees fit. But don't be afraid to see a doctor, to seek help for medicine. Or when I say medicine, it can be mentally or physically, whatever. It is okay. You're not crazy. You deserve to be happy, and hormonal imbalance is so real, and it will make you feel so out of your mind. It will make you feel emotions in all different types of emotions, not just sadness, but all different types of emotions in ways that your husband, the person that he fell in love with, may not seem the same in that moment, but that's when love becomes an action. And so that's when they shouldn't give up. And that's when you shouldn't give up. Recognize the first step to overcoming that is recognizing that that's what it is. Recognizing that it's a hormonal imbalance, and it's not who you are. You're not crazy, and it'll level itself out. Recognize when you get really emotional. Recognize when you're getting angry over something that normally wouldn't anger you. Take a minute, breathe, think, is it worth it? Is it really this big? If it is, okay, fix it. But if it's not that big, take a deep breath. Realize that that is not abnormal to feel those things. Whew. And then say what you need to say in a calmer manner, or just drop it. If it's really not anything big and you were just getting worked up over your hormones, just drop it. And men, if your wife is going through this, be understanding. Listen to what she's saying. She's not crazy. The feelings that she's feeling, whether it seems ridiculous to you or not, it seems stupid to you or not, the emotions that she's feeling are real. I don't care if she just cried over a dropped chip. If she's crying, it's because she's hurting. You don't just cry tears just to cry tears. They don't just fall. You're feeling an emotion and tears are coming out. So regardless of if the tears are crazy or if they don't make sense, they're real, and no one gets to tell you how you feel. No one gets to tell you if you're crazy. No one gets to tell you if you're actually hurting or not. And I've always been a firm believer in that. If someone is crying, I don't care what their reason is, there is pain somewhere in there. You know what I mean? If there's tears of sadness or of anger, you don't get to say that they shouldn't feel that way. Or you yourself, don't be hard on yourself. You might think, oh my God, I'm going crazy. You actually feel that. Surround yourself with people that understand. Surround yourself with people that encourage you. Because if they don't, or if they're dropping like flies every single time that you act out of character, they're not your people. Okay, so the next step that you'll probably go through after having a baby is your hormones, maybe they're balancing out, okay? But then you can't sleep. And then you see your partner laying there sleeping so soundly, and you are fighting a crying baby that you love so intensely, and you feel so guilty to even be upset or to be tired or to just want sleep. First of all, don't feel guilty. Your health matters too. But then you start feeling anger and built up resentment towards this person, not because they're doing anything wrong, but because you are desiring help that you don't know how to seek because you feel guilty. You feel guilty for seeking it. You feel guilty for asking for help. Listen, ask for help. Ask for help. And if your partner, whoever, doesn't want to help or can't help, ask someone else. I'm so guilty of not asking for help because I just want to do it on my own because I know I can. But even if you can, even if you don't have to prove to anyone you can, everybody knows you can, just ask for help. Ask for help, you guys. But you start building resentment towards that person because, first of all, they're convenient. They're right there next to you, and it's easy to take it out on them. But also because you're tired. Also because your hormones are raging. Also because, along with the crazy hormone raging, sometimes your sex drive just dies. It's just dead. And so that feel good emotion that you normally have towards your partner that keeps you desiring them and keeps you from angering so easy, that goes away. And you don't feel those feelings that make you all lovey-dovey and makes you desire them and want to be near them. So not only all the other things, but you also don't desire to be near them. You don't desire to cuddle up to them. You don't desire for things to be good. So it's so much easier to become bitter so quickly. So you'll go through that and you'll feel that for a while. And it is hard. And that is when love becomes an action. And in those moments, your spouse, your husband, whoever, are going to feel like that they're either in your way or that you've put them on the back burner, so they're going to back up. And they're going to not show you as much attention, and they're not going to come in and kiss you like they used to, and it's not because they don't desire you, but it's because they feel like they're in the way, or they feel like that you would prefer to take care of the child over them. Listen, guys, if you're watching, not true. Your woman wants you to walk in that door and kiss them. They want you to walk in and say, "How was your day?" And even though they're going 90-0 and they can't look up when you walk through that door, I promise you they want to hear from you. Okay? But I'm telling you both, whoever's watching, don't give up in those moments. Don't give up from those moments. Number one, don't give up for the kids. But don't just let that be your sole reason. Don't let just for the kids be the only reason you don't give up. Because in the end, the kids move out. And then it's just you guys. But mainly, do it for each other. Because I promise you, if you don't give up in those times that are so hard, God honors your faithfulness. And He honors that you've stayed faithful to the commitment you made under God. And there will be reward. You will see and feel all that again. But it happens and it lingers. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Don't give up. With all of my pregnancies, it's last about a year. I'm just going to be honest with you. It lasts about a year, that hard stage where you really just fight all the time. You don't feel loved. You really have to just love despite how you're feeling. You feel disconnected. That is the biggest thing. Disconnected. You feel that so strongly. Don't give up. Don't give up when you feel disconnected, and just let God solely be your connection. Don't rely on the feeling. Don't rely on their actions. Don't rely on any of that to feel connected. Just be. Keep on keeping on. When you've done all else to stand, just stand, because it will get better. And I promise you, I am the proof. After Charlie turned about a year old and things started we really just started figuring things out. And I know that you're like, oh my God, a year. But yes, a year. Just think about a year is so small compared to a lifetime of giving up. Okay, if you gave up, you'd be giving up so much life that you guys have ahead. Because I didn't give up, and Brandon didn't give up, and we made it past that stage. And after Charlie's first birthday, Charlie turned 1, and surprise, birth control baby, I was pregnant with Lakin. And so my hormones were still raging because I was pregnant, but because I had been pregnant once before, it was a lot easier for me to recognize my hormones. I was able to recognize that when I was quick to anger about things that normally would make me mad, that it wasn't his fault, that it was literally just me. So not making my feelings invalid, but it also helps to control it, and it makes you not feel so guilty and wrong, and it prevents a lot of fights when you can recognize that that's what you're feeling. Your feelings are true, they're valid, and it takes teamwork to get through that. But for yourself and for your own peace, just become accustomed and just recognize that it's just your hormones, and it really makes a big difference. So I was able to recognize it. And then after I had Lakin, we went through a year. During my pregnancy, obviously, my hormones did me favors, and I felt much more emotionally connected to him. But then after I had Lakin, it was the same thing. But I recognized it. I knew what it was, and I was like, keep on keeping on. We're going to make it through it. And we did, and about a year passed, and everything was great. And Charlie was 2, Lakin was 1, and we were great. We fought through the hard marriage parts. We fought through the having children, all that stuff. Yes, children are beautiful, but yes, it puts a toll on your relationship. And just, if you're pregnant right now, I'm just preparing you. It's going to happen. It's going to come. It's not going to be all hands, sandy, dandy, butterflies, all this. It's going to be hard. But I promise you the reward on the other side of that hard wall is so much greater. We went through, everything got better, everything was good. God honored our faithfulness through sticking with each other through times that we did not feel that love. And then a few years later, we got pregnant with Tucker, and I knew, because I recognized it, that it was coming. I knew that I would feel, my hormones would be so imbalanced that I would lose that attraction, which makes it so much easier, because when you're really infatuated with somebody and you're really attracted and you just really desire them, it makes you not so quick to anger, no matter what the situation is. But when you lose all that, it's so hard to just do all the things that I'm telling you, not give up. It's so hard to do that, but just know that Tucker is almost 6 months old, and inevitably we are still going through that currently. But I know, just because I've fought through before, each time we've come out so much stronger. We really have. And you will too. Just wait. When you feel like, if you want to walk out, don't. I challenge you that if you're at a point right now where you just want to leave, I challenge you to spend 3 days before you make that decision. Just spend 3 days. That's all I'm asking. Spend 3 days really seeking God in your decision. 3 days just thinking about all the things that you have to think about, and weighing out the good and the bad and what you have to look forward to. And if you're still angry in 3 days, if you're really still unhappy, or if you really feel like there's nothing, then talk about it. But I challenge you, and that's even at your very end. Don't do it when you get mad. 3 days doesn't count when you get mad. It is when you are ready to walk out. When you are praying for God to send angels to guard that door. Give yourself 3 days. 3 days to breathe. Even if you have to leave for 3 days. Okay? Just don't give up, you guys. I promise you the reward of not giving up is so much greater. I've seen a meme that is come across social media multiple times, where there is these 2 men picking at the coal, and there's like a diamond, like you can't see through the coal, and there's a diamond on the other side, and one of the guys is like this far from reaching the diamond, and he's turned around because he's so tired. And then there's a guy that's exhausted. You can tell he's pouring sweat and he's really exhausted, but he's still fighting, and he's this close to that diamond. And that is the best example that I can give you, is just when you feel like you've gone so far, when you feel like that you've done all you can, keep going. I know it's so exhausting. It really is. But just keep going. Don't give up. Wherever you're at, whatever you're feeling right now, take this as your sign. You're not going to give up. And also realize that this won't be the last time you feel this way. Also realize that you will want to give up again. But when you feel like that, don't. You're gonna want to give up. Don't. I love you guys. Bye.
No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy. You hear that in there?